all the participants present in this training program. So this session will be on the food safety standards, regulations, and what are all the registration and licensing procedures, and the various packaging and the labeling requirements present in the FSSAI, Food Safety Standards Regulations. So before going into the session, I would like to brief on the importance of safety of the food. So as per the regulation, or as per the Food Safety Standard Act of 2006, so there is a definition stated for food, which means food is any substance which is either processed or partially processed or unprocessed, but it should be intended for human consumption, which means it should be stated as fit for consumption by any humans. And they may be genetically modified or engineered food, or food containing such other ingredients, and all infant foods, packaged drinking water, alcoholic beverages, chewing gum. So everything is included in the category of food. Food also includes water which is used in the manufacturing, preparation, or for any treatment of the food. But food does not include animal feeds likely, and any live animals unless and otherwise they are processed or intended for human consumption. Why there is a requirement for need for safe food is because every person should have an assurance that whatever they consume is safe and is of the intended quality. And access to safe and nutritious food is a requirement for life sustaining and promoting good health. And likely there is an estimate around the globe that most of the infections which are arising are as a result of consuming unsafe food, and almost 1 in 10 people fall ill after eating contaminated food each year, which results in around 4 lakh and 20,000 deaths and a loss of 33 million healthy life years. So there's a very need to address safety. And when talking about safety, we have to address the hazards, which may be conditions or contaminants in food that may cause serious illness or injury. And these hazards are classified as physical, chemical, and biological, and they are associated with food and water generally. So all your physical hazards can be visualized through eyes, and they can be separated by sieves and all. And they are physical hazards are hazards which are extraneous part of the food, and chemical hazards cannot be seen. So they are all chemical constituents. They may be chemical compounds, they may be chemical toxins which are present, all the residues, veterinary residues, drug residues, antibiotic residues, pesticide residues, mycotoxins, all the other contaminants comes under the chemical hazards. And all our microbial pathogens, pests, parasites, everything comes under the biological hazards. So these are some of the examples for the 3 categories of hazards. And the importance of food safety is to ensure that food is safe for human consumption, as I already mentioned. And this is ensured at every stage, starting from handling, preparation, and storage of food in such a way that the concern takes more care in prevention of the foodborne illness. So not only that, to prevent the entry of microbes and contaminants from getting into food and water, and to maintain the overall health and well-being of the consumer. And not only that, this will ensure a confidence among the consumers that whatever food they procure, they buy, they eat, will do no harm to them, and they are protected from any food adulteration and any food fraudulent practices. And food safety is a multi-sectoral and multidisciplinary aspect, and is a shared responsibility between governments, industry, producers, academia, and consumers. So some of the key elements in food safety is like at the early stage of implementing appropriate food management systems such as HACCP, hazard analysis, critical control point, and to maintain hygienic premises like the FBOs, the food business operators. Premises should be in appropriate layout with a suitable lighting, ventilation, pest control, and waste management, and good food hygiene practices to be adopted by all the workers present over there, like their personal hygiene. They should be well educated on how to handle food safely, how to prevent cross contamination, what are all the cleaning procedures, how to store the food at appropriate time temperature combinations, and so on. Why I am emphasizing on this is because the registration or the license from FSSAI is given to adoption of good manufacturing practices as laid down in the food safety standards regulation. So this is mainly given to the premises that it is a confidence, or it is an authentication given to the FBO that he maintains his premises in accordance with the requirements as stated in the regulation. So these are all some key components in implementing the food standards, and the food regulation will regulate a lot of aspects actually. So which is covering all the general regulations, the standards, the hygiene practices, the additives. So what are all the permitted, non-permitted list of additives. So all the residual limits, and as likely to be addressed in the session, the packaging and the labeling requirements, and what are all the advertisement and misleading claims. So these are all certain aspects which are regulated, and there are national and international bodies which regulate the safety aspects of food. And generally any law of a country is being framed for two appropriate reasons. One is to regulate or to frame the specification for food, and to regulate the hygienic conditions of processing and manufacturing. So these are some of the international organizations. We have the WTO, we have the WHO, FAO, Codex. So you have national advisory committees for microbiological criteria, International Commission for Microbiological Specification in Food. These are all some of the examples of the international organization. So to cover today's aspect, we have the national regulatory body governing the various quality and the standard aspects of food. We have the Food Safety Standards Authority of India. So earlier, prior to 2006, before the enactment of the act, we had several commodity orders like edible oil, fruits and vegetable, milk and milk product, meat and meat product. So likewise, we had commodity orders. So all this has been pooled under one umbrella, which is the Food Safety Standards Act, and the Act was enacted in 2006, and thereon the regulation was framed in 2011. So you can see this from the website of FSSAI. You have the Act, we have the regulation, we have the rules. So everything is accessible, quite accessible in the public domain. So I'm just briefing on the registration and the licensing requirements initially, okay, to address it first. So you can see there, like if you can just go to the portal of FSSAI, so the list of regulations are given. So I have placed certain important regulations here. So firstly, we have the licensing and the registration of food business. Then we have the food product standards and additives. We have contaminants, toxins and residues. We have packaging, we have labeling and display, we have organic food, we have health supplements, alcoholic beverages, fortification, and of course the list is quite exhaustive. So initially, to cover the aspects of licensing and registration of food business, so it's a mandatory requirement by the regulatory body, the FSSAI. So as per section 31.1 and 31.2 of the Act, the FSSAI Act, it is mandatory that every food business operator in the country is required to be licensed or registered under the Food Safety Standards Authority of India. And the procedures for this and the requirements that the FBO needs to meet out, as I already told you, how to maintain the premises, what are all the requirements in maintaining the premises, and that is dependent from commodity to commodity. There are certain general aspects and there are certain commodity specific requirements. Like for example, we have certain other added requirements for meat and meat products. We have certain added requirement for milk and milk products. So we have certain added requirements for catering industry, for street food vending. So likewise, depending on what the business is, there are certain additional requirements to be met out by the food business operator, and all the requirements and the procedures have been laid down in the licensing and the registration of food business regulation. So we are just going to see a gist of this. And this license or the registration, what is the difference between a license and a registration? So registration is generally meant for petty food manufacturers. And who are all petty food manufacturers means? So any vendor who is having an annual turnover up to 12 lakhs. So if your annual turnover is up to 12 lakhs, then the particular food business operator is supposed to obtain a registration from the authority. So apart from this, all the other food businesses having an annual turnover of more than 12 lakhs need to obtain a license. So this license is of two natures. One is a state license and a central license. So the state license will have a turnover between 12 lakh to 20 crore, and a central license having a turnover above 20 crores. So apart from the turnover, there are certain other criterias like location of the business, number of retail stores, so which are to be considered in obtaining a central license. So likewise, for petty food business manufacturer, apart from the annual turnover not exceeding 12 lakhs, depending on the production capacity, say if they are into food business apart from milk and milk products and apart from meat and meat products, the food production capacity does not exceed 100 kg per day. Okay. And likewise, procurement of milk, so up to 500 liters of milk per day. And in case of animal processing, slaughtering of 2 large animals or 10 small animals or 50 poultry birds per day or less. So these are all some of the other conditions met out to be by petty food manufacturers. Likewise, if you see like for license, so apart from the turnover, we have this list which is given, which is falling under the purview of the Central Licensing Authority. So likewise, a dairy processing industry having a processing capacity of more than 50,000 liters. And likewise, vegetable oil processing, which is having a capacity of more than 2 metric tons per day. Likewise, based on the production capacity also, the license, central license is required. And who are into export, 100% export oriented units, all importers, and those who are having uh, operating premises in more than 2 states, food catering services. So all these are covered under the central licensing purview. So how to obtain this registration or license is completely online. So the FSSAI portal on FOSCOS. So it is called Food Safety Compliance System. So this FOSCOS portal is completely for registration and licensing. So either to obtain a fresh or a new license or registration, or to renew for any modification in the obtained license or registration. So whatever it is completely online now. So this is a screenshot of the portal. You can there are tabs located here. So this tab is to apply for new license or registration. This is for applying renewal, modification, and any grievance, follow up, so tracking. So everything can be done. Quite a user friendly portal this is. And this period of license is given generally for 1 to 5 years. That is depending on the choice of the food business operator completely. And in case if they are going for a registration, Form A needs to be filled up, and in case of a license, Form B is applicable. So talking about registration, we need to fill Form A. So there are 3 requirements, essential requirements to complete so the form. One is a photo and a government issued photo ID, and proof of address of business. As I already told you, the registration or the license is given to the premises, manufacturing address. Okay, so proof of address of business is very mandatory. So you can register in the portal and a user ID can be obtained. So after which you can go choose Form A and fill in the required details and submit the application with the requisite fee. So likewise, for license, there are set of additional documents to be produced, like including the list of equipments, the analytical report of the product, that it meets the specified quality and the standards, and the proof of possession of the premises, partnership deed, and nomination. So these are all some of the essential layout or a blueprint of the processing units. What are all the machineries which are erected? So all these details are other essential documents to be uploaded for license. And in licensing, we have to specify the KOB. KOB means a kind of business. So kind of business means like either or am I a producer, or am I a retailer or a distributor, or am I a transporter of food? So what is my kind of business? That needs to be specified, and I have to declare where my head office will be. Okay, and the manufacturing address of the head office. And I should list what are all the products are covered under this license. What are all my products? List of products to be covered under this license. So Form B is applicable for license. So these are the registration and the licensing fee. So accordingly, this can be uh, taken as a guidance. And some of the non-compliance. So wherever there is non-compliance by the FBO, so before giving the registration or the license, so for registration it is not mandatory. Inspection is not mandatory, whereas for license it is mandatory that their premises will be inspected by a food business, by a food inspector. Okay, so in case if during the inspection, if some unwanted things or adulterant or fraudulent practices have been observed, then they will be notified, they will be penalized, and sometimes license may not be granted, or in case after granting there are certain periodic visits and inspection, in if some deviations are found, non-compliance to the act has been observed, then also cancellation of the license or the registration is quite possible. So what are all will lead to non-compliance is failure to comply with the directions of the regulation, running a business without a license or a registration, having substandard food, having misbranded food, providing unsafe food, selling food which is not of the intended quality, any unhygienic or unsanitary manufacturing of food, presence of extraneous matter in the food, any misleading advertisement, contraventions for which no specific penalty is provided, possessing an adulterant in the premises, providing false information. So all these are some of the major examples which will invite penalization by the FBO. And once the license or the registration is granted, it will be a 14 alphanumeric 14 digit number. It's a mandatory requirement to be printed on the label along with the FSSAI logo and the license number. All the 14 digits needs to be printed. And the first digit will imply whether it is a registration or a license, and the following two digits will be the state code, and the other two digits is the year of enrollment of business. Then you have the following three digits which denotes the quantity of the enrolling master, and the last six digits will be the FBO's unique permit number. But all the 14 digits, either it is FSSR followed by the 14 digits in case of registration, or FSSL in case of license followed by the 14 digit along with the FSSAI logo should be printed on the label. So this is how the procedure goes. So first an FBO should have a business plan, determine the early turnover, and determine, so the turnover, based on the turnover we can decide whether it is a registration or a license. And we have to fill out the required application, either Form A or Form B, complete all the documentation process, pay the appropriate fees and submit the application. So next we have the standards and food additives, because whatever we need to put under the registration or license have to be adopted. All the food products needs to be adopted in accordance with the standards and the food additives regulation. So in the food product standards and food additives regulation, list of products will be there. So whatever our products, say for example, I am talking about fruits and vegetables. I have some tomato ketchup with me. So my tomato ketchup falls under the category of fruits and vegetable. So under 2.3 of fruits and vegetable, my 27th product is tomato ketchup and tomato sauce. And there's a description given what it actually means. So how a tomato ketchup or a tomato sauce needs to be made, or it should be met. And coming to the quality standards, there are two quality standards put forth in the regulation. One is the TSS and the acidity. So the TSS of my ketchup or sauce should not be less than 25%, and the acidity as the acetic acid should not be less than 1%. So if it is not meeting the prescribed standard, then it is failing for the quality standards, which means it is substandard. and say for example fruit and vegetable sauces. So again there are list of standards prescribed for different types of fruit and vegetable standards. Likewise, there's a lot of commodities listed. So accordingly, this regulation can be taken as a guideline to locate the quality standards for the food commodity. So next we have the list of food additives. What are all the additives need to be added to the particular commodity? So you can see here, I've just given the first table, first part of the table. So likewise, there's this keeps on continuing. All the listed products in the regulation will be covered under this, and a possible list of permitted food additives and their limited usage in the commodity is listed here. So a combination, either singly or in combination, these additives can be added in the recommended ratio in the commodity. So if it is exceeding the prescribed standards, then again it will not meet out the quality and the safety norms of the regulation. Next, in Appendix B, we have the microbiological requirements. So this is speaking on the safety parameters. So you can see here. So now this is the general table for safety parameters. Apart from this, we have product specific process hygiene criteria and product specific food safety criteria. So this is for meat and meat products, stating on the process hygiene. So process hygiene will allow a certain limit of bacterial load, specifically for the general or the aerobic plate count, the yeast and mold, the E. coli and Staphylococcus aureus. So there is a minimum and the maximum limit up to which it can be allowed. Whereas in the food safety criteria, all the food pathogens are listed which should not be present in the commodity. If the food safety criteria is not met, then the product is unsafe. It is not fit for consumption. Likewise, we have the regulation on contaminants and toxins, and this contaminants and toxins gives us a list of residues, and which will cover the pesticide residues, the antibiotic residues, the veterinary drug residues, and their maximum residual limit to be present. So if it is not falling within the specified limits, then again your commodity is unsafe and it cannot be marketable. It is not marketable and it is not fit for consumption. Likewise, list of toxins are also given, commodity wise toxins are also given, and their maximum limits are given. So it's an essential requirement apart from the quality and the safety standards. So the contaminants and residues also is covered under the safety standards. This also needs to be met out for the particular commodity. Next, we have the packaging regulation. So speaking on the packaging regulation, the general requirements to be addressed in by the FBO in the choice of packaging material is, first thing, it should be of food grade. So any packaging material which is intended specifically for usage in food. So it should be food grade. So the packaging material should be such that it will withstand all mechanical, chemical and thermal stresses. And the packaging material should be clean, it should be hygienic and tamper proof package. And the sealing material shall be compatible with the product. And in case of tin containers, once used shall not be reused for packaging. And the printing inks which are used on the packaging material should conform to the IS standard 15495. Newspaper or any such material shall not be used for storing and wrapping of food. So this is a common practice observed in street food specifically, and every food business operator shall obtain the certificate of conformity issued by NABL accredited laboratory against these regulations for packaging material, which comes in direct contact with the food or layers likely to come in contact. I think the previous session would have given you an insight on the NABL accreditation and the importance of testing your commodity in accredited laboratories. So it's a mandatory requirement, and all the packaging materials of plastic origin shall pass the prescribed overall migration limit of 60 mg per kg or 10 mg per decimeter square. So when it is tested for IS 19845, and there shall be no visible color migration in the packaging material. So apart from the general requirements, there are certain specific requirements for primary food packaging. So in that category, we have the paper and the board materials, which is intended to come in contact with the food products. So this paper and board material shall be of uniform formation, thickness and substance. It should be free from any visible specks, any grease marks, any cuts, pinholes and any other blemishes. And the paper used for the manufacturing of such primary food packaging materials like your boxes, like your cartoons, paper cups, plates, paper lids and all, which is coming in direct contact with the food, should also be mandatorily of food grade, and they should be free from any contaminants. So the paper and the board materials, so intended for manufacturing of this and storing of food products, should meet out the IS standard. So you can see in schedule 4 there are a list of standards which are prescribed. So these, say for example, if you are going to use aluminium foil laminates for packaging. So this aluminium foil, apart from this FSSAI prescribed thing, this aluminium foil which we are going to use should be in accordance with the IS 8970. So while going for the choice of packaging material, please ensure, the FBO should ensure that they are certified that they meet this particular standard. Say for example, corrugated fiber board. So these corrugated fiber board should meet the IS 2771. And whatever the wax used for coating the paper or the paper board shall be paraffin wax, which will conform to type 1 of IS standard 4684. So coming to glass containers, these glass containers should be free from any blisters, from any mold marks, stones, chippings, and it should be free from any cords, seeds or any other defects. And they should have a very smooth surface without cracks, pinholes and sharp edges. And the sealing surface should be free from any hairline cracks, because there are all possibility for contamination of the food product if there are any cracks present. And the metal and the metal alloys, whenever the utensils or any containers for storage which is made of metals are being used, so they should be rust free. And the enameled containers which have they should not become chippy or rusty upon usage. And apart from that, the copper or the brass containers which are not properly tinned should not be used. And the appropriate alloy grades, the metal alloy grades should be used for packaging and storing. So care should be taken, there's list of Indian standard prescribed for metal and metal alloys. So as that of paper what we saw, similarly for metal alloys, similarly for plastic materials is specified. So the particular Indian standards should be adopted. It should be certified by the particular Indian standards. Likewise for plastic materials, there are set of Indian standards again specified. So in the forthcoming slides, you can see this is for metal and metal alloys. So likewise for plastic and plastic materials also, a set of standards are prescribed. You can see here. Say for drinking water specifically, the packaged drinking water. So the pack should be colorless, transparent, it should be tamper proof, it should be made of polyethylene, and this polyethylene should conform to IS 10146. Or if it is of PVC, then it should conform to this particular IS. If it is going to be a PET bottle, then it should conform to these IS standards, and likewise. And the transparency of the container shall not be less than 85% in light transmittance. So these are all certain essential requirements while going for the choice of the plastic materials. So there are the regulation also gives a suggestive list of packaging material. Say I have just kept some important examples like for milk and milk products. So these are the different types of packaging material. This is a suggestive list of packaging materials specified in the regulation. Say glass bottles, PET bottles, HDPE, polystyrene, flexible plastic pouches made of polyethylene, polypropylene. So the tin plated and paper-based lined cartoons. So these are all some of the suggestive list of possible containers which can be used for milk and milk products. Likewise for oils, fats and emulsions. So tin plate containers, glass bottle with metal caps or with the PP or HDPE caps. Then rigid containers, plastic rigid container, high density polyethylene. and we have polyethylene terephthalate. So with the plastic cap. So these are all some of flexible packaging material, plastic laminated pouches. So these are all some of the suggestive list of packaging material which can be used for oils and fats. So next we have the labeling and the display regulation 2020 actually. So these labeling and display regulations is prescribes the labeling requirements for pre-packed foods to display the essential information. So this wherever packaging is mandatory, there all labeling is also mandatory. So some of the general requirements of labeling of pre-packed foods is like first thing, every pre-packed food should have a mandatory label. And what should be present on the label is also specified in this regulations. All the information, whatever is required for the commodity present inside as laid down in this labeling and display regulation is unless and otherwise exempted should mandatorily be present on the label. So if the label is not complying with this labeling display regulation, then your food is will be stated as misbranded. Okay. So, wherever the food is sold through e-commerce or through other direct selling means, so the whatever is stated to be mandatory, which we will be seeing in the forthcoming slides, should be present on the label, except like a batch number, lot number, all these informations is being exempted wherever it is e-commerce or direct selling means. Okay, and it's not necessary that they should print it because in direct selling or e-commerce that can be stated. And in case of pre-packed food where there is no described or informations are not appropriately present on the label, then it is said to be, as I told you, it is said to be deceptive, false information or misleading to the consumer. Then it is said to be misbranded in all aspects. Okay. So, and likewise, any information on pictorial, like pictorial device, it may be written, it may be printed, or it may be presented in the form of a graphic. So, all this displayed on the label shall not be in conflict with the requirements of the regulation. So, this is very, very important. So the particulars which are written on the label should be either in English or Hindi in Devanagari script, and the size of label and the appropriate size of fonts is also guided in this regulation. And the label should be intact, that it is not separated from the container. That is also very important. And the contents of the label should be very clear, unambiguous, prominent, and it should be quite legible to the consumer. Okay. And wherever appropriate, if the package is provided with an outside container or wrapper, and that such container or wrapper is displayed for retail sale, that should also contain all the declarations which are required to be appeared on the package. So this is very, very important. And coming to the other requirements, the first and foremost thing is the name of the food. Every package of the food will carry the name of the food and indicate that the name should indicate the true nature of the food contained in the package. So this should be present in the front of pack labeling. So wherever is the food is specified by certain essential composition under this act, and so that this name will provide the identity to the consumer. So in the absence of such a name, either a common name or something which is usual or accompanied by a description of the true nature can also be presented. So additionally, they may have some fanciful brand names also, trade names also accompanied by. So, but that should meet the requirements present in the advertising and claims regulation. So next we have the list labeling the providing the list of ingredients on the label except a single ingredient. Say I have a bag of rice, I have a bag of sugar, my only ingredient present in the package. Then it's not a requirement that I should put the list of ingredients. So except for single ingredient, a list of ingredients should be declared on the label. And this list of ingredients should contain appropriate titles as ingredients or list of ingredients, like that it should be mentioned. The name of ingredients used in the product, it should be listed in a descending order. So the higher ingredient will be first, followed by the next ingredients in their descending order. So this is determined by weight by volume. This composition is determined by weight by volume. Then we have the whatever, in case we are adding any food preservatives or any food additives, that also need to be specified in the list of ingredients. It can be presented by name, or it can be given by the ENS number or the IN numbers. And you can have the specific name. You can have this list of suggested table. So in case the list of ingredients is falling under certain classes, there are certain classes entitled in the regulation. So we can mention appropriately the class titles also. Like for example, we have starches or chemically modified starches. You can mention it as starch, or animal fats, or edible vegetable fat. So this can be mentioned under this class title. Okay. So like for example, milk solids, all milk and milk products derived from solely, which is derived from milk alone, is used as an ingredient. Then you can write as milk solids. Milk solids derived from what source? Likewise. So likewise, this class titles can also be used in the list of ingredients. So wherever an ingredient is a composition of two or more, say for example, millet flour. Okay. So millet flour, in brackets, what are all the millets? It may contain ragi flour 10%. Then it will have bajra. So bajra flour 20%. So likewise, a compound ingredient which is a mixture of two or more ingredients can also be presented, and the list of ingredients should be given in the bracket along with their proportionate composition. So that is what this is stating. And if that single ingredient constitution, okay, if it is less than 5%, then it may not be mandatorily given on the label. And any added water should be declared as a list of ingredients. If water itself, say for example, in packaged drinking water, you need not present it to be as water. But if you are using water in case of fruit juices, then you have to mention the fruit content and the added water quantity. Okay. So likewise. So next is the nutritional information. Nutritional information should be presented per gram or per 100 ml. Okay. I'm sorry, the nutritional information should be presented per 100 gram or per 100 ml. In case of liquids, in case of solids, it is going to be expressed as 100 gram. So this should also be equivalent to a single consumption pack. Sometimes the pack may be a single consumption pack, say for example 40 gram pack. Okay, a single consumption pack. Then apart from the 100 gram, you should provide in a single serving. So what is the proportionate nutritional value? Okay, say it is going to be a serving size is going to be less than 100 ml. Then you should tell what is the serving size. Say for it is going to be 20 ml. Then what is the appropriate nutritional values for 20 ml? So these are all these recommended dietary allowance which is calculated in percentage. Say you can see for energy it is based on 2000 kilocalories. For fat it is based on 67 gram of total fat. And for saturated fat it is based on 22 gram fats. There are all conversion factors which are given for this also, which can be adopted. So apart from this, we have the energy value, protein, carbohydrate to be stated as total sugars and added sugars wherever the carbohydrate composition is the major one, and total fat, especially in oils. It should be spelled out clearly what is the composition of what is the proportionate amount of saturated fat, what is the amount of trans fat, and what is the amount of cholesterol. This needs to be specified. And you can see here, like apart from this, there are certain commodities which are exempted from mandatory nutritional labeling. So wherever, as I told you, wherever it is, the food is comprised of a single ingredient. If in case if it is unprocessed and processed commodities, which is comprising a single ingredient, water which is intended for human consumption, say carbonated water, even that is not required to be mandatory. Nutritional information is not required, and herb or spice mixture, so sprinkler masalas, so this is all exempted. Salt and salt substitute, tabletop sweeteners, coffee, chicory extracts, and herbal and fruit infusions, uh, and all your fermented vinegars and flavoring substances, food additives, enzymes, processing aids, all these are exempted, including chewing gum, bubble gum, alcoholic beverages, and foods for special dietary uses. So there's a separate regulation on this, on health supplement nutraceutical. So this is exempted from nutrition label, but the requirements specified in this regulation needs to be adopted for foods for special dietary uses. So these are the conversion factors. These conversion factors can be employed to calculate the recommended to calculate the nutrient information to be presented on the label. And apart from this, there are other requirements, like in case, apart from the name of the product, the list of ingredient, nutritional labeling, in case we have a health claim, in case there is a medical claim, say for example, it is low in cholesterol, has got high dietary fiber. So this is used for diabetic people. So likewise, if there are any health claim or nutritional claims, appropriately they should be tested for such claims, and documents for the claim should be mandatorily kept. So that can be called upon for verification as and when required. And likewise, this list of allergens specified, like for example, lactose, wheat, milk, egg, nuts, fish, crustaceans. So likewise, there's a list of allergens listed in the regulation. So wherever we use such commodities as an ingredient, there should be prominently mentioned, and a declaration regarding the food allergen should be presented on the label. And apart from that, presenting of the vegetarian logo and a non-vegetarian symbol. So this is very important. And in case we fortify the food with added nutrients like vitamins, minerals have been added into the food apart from being what is inherent in the food, then the food should meet out the regulation on fortification, and on the label it should clearly be mentioned fortified food, and the front of on the front of pack you have to present this F plus symbol along with this statement. And in case of organic food, so they should meet the regulation specified for organic food, and this symbol along with the slogan Jaivik Bharat needs to be presented in the front of pack labeling. So some of the other requirements to be present on the label is, as I already told you, list of additives or preservatives which are used, and a warning or declaration, like in case of infant formulas. So mother's milk is best in case of pan masala. So tobacco chewing is injurious. So likewise, warning and declaration statements depending on what the commodity is. And as I told you, the FSSAI license along with the manufacturing address. So this is a very mandatory requirement. Then the net quantity, batch number, best before or the expiry date, the country of origin, either it is made in India or it is imported from Germany or whatever country it is, and whatever the directions for use, how to use, and how to store after opening the package, how to dispose the package. So all these are some of the other information which needs to be presented on the label. In case if the commodity is subjected to irradiation, then a stamping of the irradiation is mandatory requirement. You can see here in the list of ingredients, you have a puffed rice 40%, followed by split green gram 20%, groundnut, rice flakes, tamarind. You can see it is in the descending order. So this is a class, condiments and spices. So the class title is given here. You can see an allergen label. The product contains nuts. So this is a allergen declaration. So you can see per kg here they have given actually for 100 kg. So, and apart from that, they have given per serving also. It's a 50-gram pack, so per serving also they have given. And as I stated, like a Niftum Tanjore has food testing laboratory, which is NABL accredited and providing a lot of testing services to all the people of need. And apart from NABL accreditation in chemical, mechanical, and biological. So mechanical covers all the testing of food packaging materials, as I stated you, as per the regulation. There are certain tests to be performed for the food packaging material. So we have an NABL accredited laboratory, and testing of quality and safety standards in chemical and biology can also be done in our laboratory, which is NABL accredited, and we are also FSSAI referral laboratory and a national reference laboratory for the food safety standards authority. So our services can very well be utilized by the food business operators, and all the testing brochures are in available readily in our website. And thank you so much for this opportunity, and this session is open for any discussions and questions.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for such a wonderful presentation and elaborative also. Ma'am, some questions are there. Can we? Ma'am, first question is, what if there is new additive not listed here?
Priya, I think you should be more louder.
Ma'am, can you able to hear me?
Yeah, very feebly.
Ma'am, what if there is a new additive not listed here?
I don't understand. What is it?
What if there is a new additive not listed here?
Okay, what if there is a new additive not listed here? Okay. So first, how do you state it to be an additive? That should be defined. And there are a lot of scientific panels and a lot of scientific committees in the regulation whenever a new product is being formulated, which is not listed in the regulation. Whenever, as they stated, a new processing aid, a new additive is being put forth. You can, with all your tested documents prescribing their usage, their safety, their quality, you can apply to FSSAI, which will be deliberated in the respective scientific committees, and they will make arrangements for inclusion in the respective regulations. So we have to write to FSSAI regarding such things.
Okay, ma'am. One second question. Tea stall, fast food stall, such type of food provider have less than 12 lakh income needs registration and license.
So it is a registration. So in Form A, they have to apply and for registration, and registration will be generally granted in 30 days or less than 30 days.
Ma'am, third question. Fruits and vegetable sellers need any license?
Uh, for unprocessed fruits and vegetables, it's not required. In case if they are going to process, then they require. Selling of raw fruits and vegetables does not require. But if they have some minimal processing, say for example, they size grade it and they put it in some wrappers, and they just give some brand names to it, then it is required. Even for minimal processing, it is required. But they are just selling it raw without any processing, even minimal processing, then it is not required.
Ma'am, is there any warning on the sugar bags?
No, no warning.
What is the procedure of a food recall?
What is the procedure?
Of food,
recall.
Yes,
okay. So wherever the food is not complying, even once it is food recall is generally for foods which is not complying after it has been placed in the market. So if there is a public comment, complaint, or if there is a doubt that this product has been by oversight, either intentionally or unintentionally, it is not meeting the quality safety standards, but it is placed in market, then the food recall will be there. So in case if it is substandard, then the food can be corrected that it meets the standard requirements. Or if it is recalled for safety purpose, say presence of salmonella, presence of some contaminants and toxins, so consumption of that unsafe food is not permitted, so that after recall the food will be completely destroyed. And there is a separate regulation for food recall which gives the guidelines on how to carry over this food recall.
Ma'am, one more question. Is tea bags material containing tea leaves harmful?
Is tea bags material containing tea leaves harmful?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't get this question actually. I think this question needs more clarification. So tea bags, whatever tea bags is this instant tea bags which we are using, or what does this question mean actually?
Ma'am, Varsha, can you elaborate your question more? Ma'am, in the meantime, we can take one more question. Nowadays, we are seeing that rupees per gram cost in labeling. Can you elaborate on recent labeling compliances?
Yes, this is giving this is to make the consumer more aware on the unit price actually. So wherever they have composite packs, this unit price will also be mentioned there.
Ma'am, one more question. In FSI, for few additive limits are given as GMP. What does it mean?
Good manufacturing practice, which means at appropriate usages. Say for example, salt is there, sodium chloride. So no specific gram of sodium chloride is defined. So it is appropriately as per requirement. Judicially, they should be used.